Now, government is supposed to look at those issues critically. They should not even allow the protest to take place in the first place. And that is why they have spokesperson for the president. And that is why they have Minister for Information. That is why at the state level, they have Director General or spokesperson or Director of the Press. They also have Commissioner for Information. So they are supposed to look at those issues. What are the complaints? What are the problems? How do you go about addressing this problem? So you communicate the actions of the government, what you have done in the past, and what you are doing presently, as well as what you even intend to do. And to some extent, try to, if, for example, there are 5 problems, if you can address 3 and communicate those issues to the people that, look, your demands are 5. We cannot be able to meet the entire 5 demands now. Based on what we have on ground, we can be able to address 3, and the 3 have been addressed. I'm sure that the temper will be cooled down, so people that are planning for the president may likely withdraw back and even postpone it or suspend it and say, okay, let's wait until the government said from now to December 2024, they will be able to address all our grievances. I think if you look at the level of media coverage, both conventional and social media, I can rate it very high because there has been a massive mobilization prior to the commencement of the end bad governance protest, particularly at the level of social media, not only the organizers, even at the level of individuals who feel they are activists, came out massively to mobilize people individually and collectively, and even go to the extent of showing their dedication and level of preparedness to participate in the protest. So I think we can say that the level of coverage is very high, and not only at the level of local, national, and even at the level of international media organization, because I think yesterday I was reading a news by an international broadcast media organization, TV station for that matter, and they are talking about the way the youths were actually holding the Russian flags. That actually drew a lot of attention, and this tells you that even the international media organizations have actually been watching the protest with keen interest. So the level of protest is very, very high.
Journalistically speaking, how should journalists cover protests like this? Should we be biased in favor of the protesters or biased in favor of the government, or how should we do it?
Conventionally, journalism practice is about gathering of news, writing the news, as well as information dissemination. And journalists have a constitutional responsibility to gather information and disseminate information. That constitutional power is always there, not only in Nigeria, but in all other countries across the globe. Therefore, going by the tenets of the profession, a journalist is supposed to be neutral, siding with the government or siding with the protesters simply because you are involved in the hardship. That is very, very unethical. So what is obtainable and what is supposed to be done is a journalist should be very neutral, look at information or issues that are coming from the government, and he or she should communicate the same information to the members of the larger society. And look at the problems of the people, look at the complaints of the people, and look at the hardship, and look at even the recommendation of the people, if any, and communicate those issues to the government for noting, for action, and for necessary things that may be done with the view to address those problems. That is how a journalist is supposed to carry out his responsibility. But in a situation where a journalist is actually siding with either the protesters or the government, then he is being unethical, and that is not good for journalism practice.
Coming down to the protests happening in Nigeria, even though there are curfews in many places, including Kano, though it has been relaxed, sort of. How do you think, as a communications professor, leaders should best communicate to their followers at a critical time like this?
You see, communication is a professional practice. We do not just communicate simply because we feel like communicating. Anytime you feel like communicating, you have to have the reason on why you are communicating. Why do you want to communicate? What is it that you want to communicate? Who are you communicating with? What is the most appropriate medium of communication? Who are the target audience and with what effect? So now, if you want to look at the communication holistically or from a broader perspective, you can look at it from three different perspectives. Number one, there's what is called crisis communication. Number two, there's what is called strategic communication. And there's what is called risk communication. The last one, risk communication. Not crisis communication. And this is what is actually obtainable. At the level of the protest, we can now look at it from the perspective of crisis communication. And if you are communicating under crisis communication, it is not just for you to fold your arms, until when an issue happens, then you start communicating. If you want to apply crisis communication, you now have all your plans on ground. If you look at the issue of protest, it has been communicated to the government that will be protesting in so number of days in coming. Now, my expectation is the government will now be prepared. Already there are issues. What are the issues? What are the complaints coming from the Nigerians? Fuel subsidy removal, for example, poverty, abject poverty, people are hungry, there is insecurity, there is this issue, there is that issue. Now, government is supposed to look at those issues critically. They should not even allow the protest to take place in the first place. And that is why they have spokesperson for the president. And that is why they have Minister for Information. That is why at the state level they have Director General or spokesperson or Director of the Press. They also have Commissioner for Information. So they are supposed to look at those issues. What are the complaints? What are the problems? How do you go about addressing this problem? So you communicate the actions of the government, what you have done in the past and what you are doing presently, as well as what you even intend to do. And to some extent, try to, if, for example, there are 5 problems, if you can address 3 and communicate those issues to the people that, look, your demands are 5. We cannot be able to meet the entire 5 demands now. Based on what we have on ground, we can be able to address 3, and the 3 have been addressed. I'm sure that the temper will be cooled down, so people that are planning for the president may likely withdraw back and even postpone it or suspend it and say, okay, let's wait until the government said from now to December 2024, they will be able to address all our grievances. But a situation where the government did not even take this issue into cognizance until when the protest started. And even after the first or the second day, and the president started addressing the people. And people felt that even the entire address by the president did not even address a single demand, a single grievances by the people. So I think there is a problem somewhere. Either the people handling the information managers are not really serious about this country, or they are not expert, or they are not professional, or they didn't even take this into cognizance, or something is really wrong. Otherwise, if I were the president, I would not even allow the process to take place. The president was voted by Nigerians. And even if it means suspending all the capital projects to address these problems, it is worth it. You have freedom to protest, particularly if the protest is going to be very peaceful, even though we can see some denials and some cautions coming from the government perspective. But of course, look at what the result of the planned peaceful protest coming from many states. It went or turned into violent one. We didn't really want this. We are all for Nigerians. I want the unity for Nigerians to continue, so that all of us can enjoy, not only us, even our children and even our grandchildren